and welcome to Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host. And if you've been with me since January of 2023, you will know that Embracing the Fight is about normalizing the conversation surrounding physical and mental health issues and concerns. Now, why would anybody want to tell you what's wrong with them? Nobody does, right? And because they don't, that's why a lot of things get left out or passed over, and you wonder what happened to a person, and then you turn around and you're dealing with it and don't know what to do. So if you can normalize that conversation, if you can get people to candidly talk about their issues, then the healing can begin. So like I said, if you're a faithful follower, you'll know that I started the conversation off talking about my journey through thyroid cancer. And as it continues, I'll be able to give you some updates in July when I go back to the doctor. However, I need you to take a moment to click subscribe, click like, click share, and comment on this podcast if you feel so. I mean, I would love to know what you think, good, bad, or otherwise, to help us grow. Because once this message goes out into the world, this is the message that can heal. All right. Now that I got all that out of the way, you all see that I have a very handsome man on the screen with me. And we are going to talk about episode 70. The title of the episode is The Phoenix, and he's going to tell you, why we called it that. But prior to him telling you why we call it that, he's going to tell you who he is and how we met. All right. So who are you and how did we meet?
Wow. Okay. First of all, my name is Nathaniel O.J. Legay.
OJ.
We met on the campus of South Carolina, the South Carolina State University.
That's right.
I was actually a transfer student. You were a freshman. I believe we met on the quad. I believe it was that because I wasn't in your freshman orientation because I was.
Yeah,
I was a transfer. I was a transfer.
You one of those. I don't have to do, what was that? The fall. I don't have to do fall convocation because I am a transfer. Like, yes, you do. You got it.
But
I thought I met you in front of Washington Dining Hall.
Probably with the mafia.
Yes. Yep. That is where I met you. I was like, why do all these dudes? I'm like, it's hot as crap out here. Why do these dudes have on these Timbs? Like, what is that about? I had to know. So I came over, we all got to talking, but it was also, I think Sabrina was with me. Remember Sabrina Matthews, the Erica Ross? Yeah. We were just kind of, cruising through the campus on our feet because we didn't have cars.
So. Someday I got to tell you a story about all of that, but okay.
On the next episode.
Yeah.
All right, so why did you want to name this episode 70, The Phoenix?
Well, basically, this is my story of how some of the things that I've gone through. Mm-hmm. Life has had some of its ups and downs, and just going through losing my daughter, which was crushing, losing my marriage, which was devastating, and then after that, I was also homeless. During the pandemic. So it was just a lot of things that happened in succession that just, and just being able to persevere throughout that entire ordeal. It was a lot going on. And I thank God for allowing me to come through that situation. But it was just a lot. It was a lot. Okay. And I'm I'm eternally grateful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm eternally grateful. I mean, the thing that's so funny is that this is something that, you know, just to give you guys a little bit of a peek behind the scenes, you know, you do a little pre-show and stuff like that. This is something I did not discuss with you. I actually live
Mm-hmm.
where I can see where I used to stay when I was homeless.
Oh, wow.
I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say homeless, I mean I lived at a truck stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would drive in the middle of the night and I would park because that was the only place that was safe for me to go
Mm-hmm.
as a black man, because you can't just park on the street because, you know, people would call the police on me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the only, so I would go on the highway and I would pull up and I would park. And because at a truck stop, you know, people there, you know, there's a lot of transient people there. So nobody was going to pay attention to just some guy catching a nap because, you know, you might just been going on a long trip to, Massachusetts or something like that. So it wouldn't have been a big thing. But it was just the stress of all of that. It was just, it was crazy. It was a lot.
Right.
It was a lot. Yeah.
So I have a question, and it's something I've always, wondered when it comes to folks, being homeless. I know we're gonna
Okay.
get to the beginning of your story where, you mentioned, the loss of your daughter and then, the loss of your
Yes.
marriage and then being homeless. But because you said, that you were staying at a truck stop, was there not like any family member or anyone that you could go to that you could say, hey, I'm going through this, part of my life and I need to live with you for a little while. So why didn't you seek that type of assistance?
Okay. Okay. So part of it was pride, keeping that 100.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of it was that it was during the pandemic, and the people who I knew who would take me in,
Mm-hmm.
I could not risk their lives, specifically my father.
Mm-hmm.
My father's in his 70s. He's diabetic. He has hypertension. At that particular point, there was no vaccine. There was no nothing.
Yep.
And people were dying. Lost 6 people in my life
Okay.
transitioned from COVID. So I'm not crying, just so you know, I just got something in my eye.
It's okay if you are. We can cry over here. I hug you from afar.
Just so you know, just I want to keep that, but 6 people in my life transitioned.
Mm-hmm.
And um it was just a crazy time. And I had lost my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, lost all of these. And in my mind, I kept saying, I cannot lose anybody else and have it be my fault. I
Mm.
cannot lose anybody else and have it be my fault. I don't care what happens, what my situation is. I cannot do this.
So what got you to that point though, to say to yourself that it was your fault?
Um, well, we got to take a step back.
Okay, let's go.
Um, my daughter died in 2019.
Okay.
She had 2 very rare neurological conditions.
Mm-hmm.
One was on one side of her brain, the other was on the other side of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
One attacked her body. It was forcing her, it was atrophying the right side. Usually the condition atrophies just a side of your face
Mm-hmm.
for most people. But for my daughter, it was her entire right side.
Hmm. Was it like Bell's palsy?
It was, oh gosh, um, Perry Rumberg.
Okay.
And it causes, like I said, usually it's what happens is it started out looking like a lump on her forehead.
Okay.
That's what it looked like. It looked like, and it was a dent that just kept getting bigger and bigger, and then it just, and we didn't know what it was. We thought it was something. We thought it originally. We thought if she fell, and she just, and we thought it was like a growth, and we just kept, you know, whistling past the graveyard, trying to figure out, like, maybe it'll go away. Nobody's saying it's anything bad, but this thing is not getting any better.
Oh.
And and come to find out, it for, like I said, for most, it causes like the fat and, like, I guess the muscle, but it exposes the muscles and the fat. It just takes off, but it's only on one side of the face. Yeah, it's only usually, it's just, and what usually happens is later on what they'll do is they'll inject fat into that side as a treatment, as a cosmetic treatment. They'll inject fat into this, and that's what we were gearing up for.
Okay.
And we thought that was, that's bad,
Yeah.
but we'll work through this. We'll figure out a way to work through this, this thing. And then she started complaining about, she was having pain in her hand. And, it was at first it was small, it was a few seconds. And then it just kept building and building. And we had just gone down to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, because New Jersey really doesn't have a very good children's hospital here. It's not like there's not a proficient children's hospital here, not on the level of CHOP or eventually the one in Massachusetts. We eventually, but we went down to CHOP. That's when they told us about Perry Rumberg. She started having tingles. We took her here in Jersey, and thank God to the people here. That's, to me personally, I believe systems are really important, and the best hospital for me is it's a hospital in Jersey. It's called St. Peter's. It's in New Brunswick. They don't have the best systems. They don't have all the best money, but the way that they do diagnosis, and they're very willing to tell you, we don't know, but we're willing to look. We're going to look. We're going to find out. And we'll refer to you to something. They don't just sit back and be like, well, we don't know. Which is, I don't, I've really learned a lot these last couple of years. When my mom passed, and when my daughter passed, and even my uncle when he passed, about the difference between hospitals that have a lot of care facilities as opposed to the systematic approach to diagnosis and medicine. And the best hospitals have both, but if you have to choose the one with the better system as opposed to the one with the better facilities. Always.
Right.
If I can get that out there, if nothing else happens from this particular conversation, I would definitely like somebody to hear that. Choose the hospital because the system is good, not necessarily because the facilities have these high-tech gadgets.
Okay.
You can be referred. They can give you a referral to the high-tech gadgets. Do not do but choose the care better, the better care facility first.
So how do you find if it's better care? Like if it has the systems in place? Say if I just moved up there, how would I know which one's better?
I mean, to be honest with you, I couldn't tell you, like, from going outside, like I don't know if there's an outside survey or anything like that that I could tell you, like you could look at your, just Google so. But one of the things that I can tell you is that the experience of dealing with doctors who keep you in the loop. You also want doctors who network through their system
Mm-hmm.
and they're constantly talking to each other.
Right.
You know, the best hospitals, that's what they're doing. It's not just, again, good hospitals will tell you, will bring in a specialist.
Mm-hmm.
Great, great hospitals will have the specialist and the nursing team and your primary care physician, all of them will be having meetings together.
Mm-hmm.
They will all be looped in and they will all be having meetings together and they will be talking about your situation. It won't be, no one will be out of the loop
Okay.
when it comes to your care or your child's care.
Okay.
That's a good situation. That's a good hospital. You know, that's what I consider a great hospital.
Okay.
An exceptional hospital has that, plus has all of the, the machines and all of the other stuff inside of it. And does research and all that other stuff. That's the, creme de la creme.
Yeah.
Boston Children's Hospital was by far top level, top shelf. They had all of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Best hospital that I've ever been to, I've ever experienced, whatever.
Okay.
And completely, totally dedicated to children.
Okay.
But I digress. But she started having, we come to find out she was having seizures.
Mm.
They sent us back down to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
When we went down there, they found out that I believe that's when she was diagnosed with. She had gosh, I can't think of what they call it, but one side of her brain was atrophying.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what the actual term for. I used to know it. I used to say it all the time. But her brain was atrophying,
Mm-hmm.
and it was giving her seizures. So she had, and because they were both on two different hemispheres,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't know what to do with that. So they sent us up to Boston Children's Hospital, and they had, to be honest with you, they see everything,
Mm-hmm.
and they had never encephalitis. I believe that's called.
That's when it swells, encephalitis.
No, but it was Jesus, but her brain was shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
She was having seizures. Her, they had never seen, they had seen a Perry-Rumberg and they'd seen the other condition on one side of the brain, but they never seen, because what they were preparing to do was they were thinking about just cutting down the middle of her brain, separating the two hemispheres. But they they'd never seen on one side and the other side. They'd seen them together, like I said, but they'd never seen it whole brain like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they weren't necessarily sure what would happen, but what they were saying was that it would be possible if they cut her brain in half, that the earlier that we did it, it would be better. And we prayed on it. I prayed on it. I fasted. We were trying all types of things, because when you cut somebody's brain,
Yeah.
but she, I fully accept my part in that,
But that's where we stop right there.
Hmm?
You are a strong parent. You have to accept what God allowed. You did what you had to do to take her to have the medicine.
I blame me.
You,
I'm gonna
you
be honest with you. I blame, as a parent, as a father,
mm-hmm.
I will always blame myself
Mm-hmm.
in this situation. I know that it is not. I think we were having a discussion about the difference between good and great.
Mm-hmm.
I will always blame myself in this situation because I personally feel like if I had been, I was working a lot of hours, I was working 14 hours a day, and I wasn't on it.
But
And I
you were
leaned on
working
my,
because you were
I
providing.
mean, I understand that, but I was leaning on my ex-wife to get all of this stuff done. And if I had been a great father, me now as a business owner could have taken the time to focus in on situations like that.
But hindsight is
Could
2020.
have done that. I understand that. Like I said, I get that. And I'm not, I get that. And that's something that I gotta eat. That's something that I gotta take, I gotta learn to deal with.
But have you forgiven yourself?
Say what?
Have you forgiven yourself?
I've learned to live with it.
You know,
Grief is a different animal because it's I saw this, there was a meme they were talking about, most people think that over time grief shrinks. What happens is you get bigger, but the pain never really leaves you. And the thought process that I should have done something else will never, it's not like, hey, I lost my job. Right. Maybe I could have No, I lost my daughter. My firstborn child. It's a different thing. It's a totally different thing. A totally different thing. It's a like I speak to men who have lost children. And invariably, one, they never talk about it just in life. They never really talk about it in life unless it gets brought up. Because there's no space for men to be able to have these conversations
or to be
with each other in a safe space. But you can see when they have that discussion, they all get brought back to that moment. Like when it happened to me, and I eventually returned to work too early, I might add. I was having a discussion with one of my supervisors, and he was telling me about his son. And the way that he was describing it was like it just happened, but it was like 20 years ago. And it in that moment, it helped me understand that this is a thing. It's not this thing that I'm feeling right now is not necessarily going to go away. I'll learn to deal with it, but it's not going to go away.
Right.
And like I said, I've spoken to multiple men who have told me and counseled me, but I recognize, a lot of times people will rally around. There was a Sherry Shepherd. When her and her husband broke up, one of the things that she said was that they lost a baby. I think they had a miscarriage. But one of the things that they said, one of the things that she said was that people rallied around her. And she said it was bad. He cheated on her and she was upset about it. But one of the things that now hindsight being 2020, she was saying that I think they had a conversation and he was saying that after it happened, people rallied around you. But nobody came and did that for me. There wasn't no people. And it's a lonely place being a man who fails on a profound level like that. Because you're always going to say, and I know people say, well, you did your best. No, there will always be, yes, there were things that I could not control. But there will always be the things that I missed, the things that I could have said, the actions that I could have taken. And hopefully, if I see those signs in the future with my living daughter, God forbid, knock on wood, I would be in a better position to be able to deal with that better, and
But you
be
realize,
more vigilant.
but you realize
Hmm?
that even though you're in a better place now to potentially help your other daughter, or any other family member that may be going through something, because you have a keener sight, or you have a more keen ear for what their issues are, what they may be dealing with. But at the same time, you are putting two, I know it's easy for me to say, because like how we were talking, like I don't have any kids, I don't know what it's like to lose someone that close to me.
Mhm.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
I've had friends that have suffered that type of loss, and they spend a whole lot of time blaming themselves, when it's not a matter of blame. Because if you're constantly, blaming yourself and thinking of what could I have done in this situation, what if I had done this, what if I had done that, what if those what ifs made it worse? What if those things gave you even less time, with your daughter? Because you're not God, you don't know, what the outcome would have been, whether if you had a business and you had the time, to go with your ex-wife. If all these things were in place, God might have said, oh, we just gonna give them one day and see, what happens in this one day. Because God is a God of love. He doesn't want
Uh,
you to blame yourself. And if
let me,
you
let me,
ask him, I'm sorry, go ahead.
one of the things, and I love you,
Mhm.
but it took me a long time to forgive God. And I know that that sounds blasphemous. And I had that conversation with my father, who's a pastor. Um, it did. It really did. It it did, because she went through so much. When we got up to Massachusetts, my daughter walked in slowly.
Mhm.
By the time she died, she she couldn't feed herself.
Mhm.
And it becomes a situation where, and it took me a while. Like I said, it took me a while. I just had to because I realized being angry at, the creator of the universe is not conducive. And if I ever wish to see my daughter again, believing what I believe,
Mhm.
I gotta let this go. But I was really angry, because that child had done nothing to anyone.
Mhm.
She was brilliant. And to take her brilliance, she was athletic and just strong. Like, she came out the womb, she was 9 pounds, 8 ounces. She was muscled, like twisted steel and sex. she was she was the most beautiful, just muscular little baby I had ever seen up until that point.
Mhm.
And she came, she was ripped. I mean, really, shoulders, just everything well defined. Like, she was in the womb, just it's probably because that was all of that Indian food was the only thing my ex-wife could keep down.
Mhm.
And so, that's just like chicken and a whole bunch of vegetables.
Yeah, it's true.
So she, but she came out and she was just absolutely gorgeous. She was beautiful and all of this stuff. And to take it all away from her.
But you know,
like her one thing that she wanted, the punishment to I never had to beat my daughter. I never had to, her thing was she did not like to be confined. She called it being stuck. So like, if I held her down, she'd flip out. That was her thing. Like, I don't want to be stuck. I don't want to be stuck. I just don't want to be sitting in the same place. And for her to be in a situation where she couldn't run around anymore.
But you know,
she couldn't play with her sister anymore. It was tough. It was tough. It was really, really tough. And they were telling me that they could not give me best case scenarios to where it was going to be like what her outcomes were going to be, because it was uncharted areas. And I'm sitting up here, and my thing is, my what if is always going to be, what if I had run in there and forcefully said, separate the hemispheres and see what happens?
But
would she still be would she still be alive? Would she have died on the operating table? Would, so I understand it. But from my standpoint, having seen what happened to her, I'm not sure if I would have wanted her to suffer like
that. What was the risk that they told you if you separated hemispheres that she'd be paraplegic?
She would lose the hope was that she would lose so it was her right side, so it would be her left hemisphere that was attacking her right. The perimeter was on the left, so it would be her right hemisphere. So her entire right brain would shut down. And hopefully her left brain would kick in.
Okay.
And override it. She would probably she was going to lose the ability to use her right hand effectively. It would effectively become a club. Her right leg would have probably become a club. It's possible that she might have been able to walk, but she would have needed some sort of assistance for the rest of her life. And cognitive function would have been decreased.
Would you have rather had her here in that state or worse?
I don't, and that's the dilemma.
That's
always going to be, and that's the dilemma. That's going to always be the dilemma. The question is always going to be, what if we caught it earlier? What if I had been more involved? What if I had been home more?
So wait, even if they caught it earlier and they said this is the path of treatment to separate these hemispheres, that just means that
I don't know.
I
don't know. Like I said before, I don't know.
Okay.
But there will always be that. What I'm saying is there will always be that what if.
So the question is, though, if there's always that what if, why is the blame to you so definitive? When you know
because if you have anybody who's a good leader, all good leaders always say it's my fault.